All right. Well, banks have more than $1 trillion sitting in the vaults at the Federal Reserve. And now some say it is high time the banks start putting that money to work. We are going to get the bottom line with Elizabeth McDonald.
Yeah, that's right, Tracy. I don't know if you have the Fed's balance sheet on your night table at home, but I'm pretty geeky and I've been reading it. I'll tell you something. You know, we talk a lot about the debt ceiling and the fiscal cliff. What's gone unnoticed is what's happening at the Federal Reserve. This has big implications for the U.S. economy. We're talking about, look at this, $1.46 trillion in bank reserves parked at the Federal Reserve, and it could rise to $2.6 trillion by next year. So look at this graph line we're going to show you, basically through the decades, dating back to 1960. You're going to see basically the amount that was parked there flatlining through 2010, and look at that spike higher at the far right. Wow, look at that. It's now trending well toward $2 trillion and north of that by next year. So what we're talking about is what happens when the Federal Reserve drops the 0.25% interest rate. It basically pays banks to park that money at the Federal Reserve. What if it dropped it to zero? Would all that money come flooding back into the U.S. economy? Would it create inflation? The Federal Reserve says, you know what, we can actually raise that interest rate and keep that money parked at the Federal Reserve. In other words, pay banks half a percentage point. That could cause loan rates to spike higher, too. And in other news that's gone totally unnoticed right now, the Federal Reserve's balance sheet, get this, is going to hit more than $3 trillion by the end of February, by the end of next month, Tracy. So that's a big deal. And so what we're talking about is, for the first time, the Federal Reserve, of course, has that explicit unemployment target rate of around 6.5%. And you can imagine that the Fed's balance sheet is going to continue to balloon until we get that jobless rate down, Tracy and Ashley. I'll tell you something, $3 trillion is a big figure, and that number is going to continue to rise. Back to you guys.
Elizabeth McDonald, thank you.
Sure.
There's not enough room on the ledger for all those.
There really isn't with those zeros. All right.